Hello everyone, and welcome back again to First Web Designer. And today is a new week, new topic, new question, and new discussion. And today's discussion is, one of the longest discussions in web design world, to be honest, which is pay versus value. It's always so tempting to grab those low-hanging fruit, and get that little pay, but you're not going to necessarily give a good value and create good impact for yourself, your career, your brand, and the client. And today, to discuss this topic, of course, we are having back someone who hasn't been on our show for about a month, I think, and that is Brent Weaver from YouGurus. Welcome on the show, Brent.
Yeah, great to be here, James. I appreciate you guys inviting me on your program as often as you do, and you're continuing to do great work, and I love interacting with your community.
Yeah, man, and obviously our community keeps giving a lot of good comments and good value, not only about you, but how we as a combination, you and me, could pull off some good topics, which perhaps is me just opening the topic and then giving it all to you to just discuss and tell us all the value bombs. And this is, I think, topic that I haven't heard you stop talking. So I guess this is not too much of a hardship for you. You'll be quite enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is one of the longest conversations that have been going on since people started building websites. I think in terms of, how to deliver really high value work to your clients, but also to actually get paid well as a web designer. I think when I started back in 1998, 99, I mean, that was still an issue at that time. Like, people were like, well, anybody can create a website. I have a cousin or a nephew that knows how to build websites, and he can build my website for $500. Can't he just build me a website like Amazon.com or Facebook, right? Like, so I think this, as long as the internet has existed and people have been able to build websites, there's been this kind of fight around what is the value that's being delivered and how much should that cost. And I don't think either side is necessarily won, although I think a lot of web designers have lost in that they aren't getting paid as much as they should be getting paid. And I find that most of the time, that's just because they don't understand some basic business skills. They don't understand how to, think of what they do as a business. They're just thinking about the skills they have to spin up a website on a template and put some content in there and just throw it up on a GoDaddy hosting account. And so we help them to dig a little deeper and discover that value a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely, man. And obviously, one of the biggest reasons why it makes me a little mad that these things keep going on and web designers don't always accept this kind of mindset is that it kind of ruins the industry a little bit. Because if you carry on doing it, that client will expect it from another web designer and another web designer. Whereas if we start from one web designer to change this mindset, we can, change the whole industry. But maybe there are more reasons, why do you think people should opt out more for giving and creating value than just grabbing those quick bucks and quick projects?
I think it's about how you think of yourself and where you fit in terms of how you're positioned in the market. I've got this handy little graphic that I created recently. It's called the value versus pay matrix, and I love this visual because what it does, it says, look, most web designers are not getting paid enough, but they're also not really delivering a lot of value to their clients. And look, a website is valuable, right? It is a valuable asset for a business, but not every website is created equally. Not every digital marketing campaign is created equally. So if a web designer comes in and says, yeah, I can do your website for $500, and another person comes in and says, I can do your website for $50,000, chances are those two websites it's not apples to apples, right? Somebody is obviously delivering something or positioning themselves some way that the other person is not. And so most web designers, when I talk to them that are delivering projects for $500 or $1,000, they're very much focused on the commodity. And I probably need to define what I mean by commodity a little bit, but when you're talking to your customer and you're using terms like website, blog, e-commerce, like all of the deliverable focused words, and you're not focused at all on who your client is, what their problems are, what their market is, what is the solution or end result they're actually after. If you're only focused on those deliverables, and that's the entire conversation you have with your client, chances are you're in that commodity space. So you're delivering work that a lot of other people could also deliver, and they could probably deliver it for cheaper, and they might even be able to deliver it faster, which, what does that mean? It means you're gonna have to take your price down. You're gonna basically have to lower your prices in order to get the business, because if somebody else can deliver the same thing faster or cheaper, all that's doing is driving those prices down. So most web professionals, and James, I'm sure you experience this as well, when you're talking to people, it's just, they have this mindset that they shouldn't charge more than $500 for a website. And the reality is that companies all over the world are paying thousands and thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, for web and digital work. It's just a matter of understanding where you fit in that market and how you're positioned.
Yeah, I mean, you are quite right that you say a lot of people feel like they shouldn't be charging that much amount of money for a website. But I think one more, in a way, trap is that a lot of clients don't even want to pay that much money because they don't see the value. Why would you have to pay that much money? You know, because there's another web designer who charges less. So is it then about, you know, understanding that perhaps I'm talking to a wrong potential client, or shall I just educate that client?
It could very well be the wrong client. I think you're absolutely right there. If you're dealing with a business that is just starting and they have no funding whatsoever, and they're putting all of their startup costs on a MasterCard or a Visa or an American Express with a $5,000 or $10,000 limit on it, is that a great client? Probably not. They're probably going to come in and just say, hey, we have a list of 7 things that we need to do to get our business online. One of them is a website and a business card, a logo, etc. And we have, $5,000 to spend on everything, including, our legal fees for starting up or whatever, because they're not an established business. So you're very correct in that sometimes the clients you're going after, if you're just going after anybody and everybody, they might be the wrong clients that you're going after. And just doing some basic strategic thinking on, well, I'm getting all these leads for $500 websites. Who are the types of businesses that can afford $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 websites? How do I go find them? If you never think about that, if that thought never occurs to you and you never think to ask yourself that question of, are there better clients? Are there other areas I should be hanging out or going to see? If you never ask yourself that question, then all you're going to ever get is what randomly comes to your door. And most of the time, that's going to be those low value projects that aren't willing to pay a lot.
No, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of good examples, like you said, where web designers just figure out where their, the buyer's persona, hangs out, lives. They understand everything, not like literally lives, but where they, spend the time where they, read stuff online. I literally start to study what kind of mindset the client has, how much money they are willing to spend, to develop their business. And obviously, I think it all starts off, like you mentioned earlier, understanding who are you as a web designer, how valuable you think you are. And this brings me back to the graph, the little graphic that you showed me earlier, value versus pay matrix. Maybe you can dive into that a little bit deeper, because there are 4 groups of web designers, and I'd like our listeners to really try to understand which group do they really fit, or at least want to fit, before they actually reach and try to find the clients.
For sure. So I talked a little bit about our low value, low pay. So when I say commodity services, artifact focus, what does artifact mean? Artifact means, again, you're focused on that deliverable, like defining, it's going to have 6 pages. We're going to have 3 call to actions, an email opt-in. We're going to build your website from this template. Basically, you're 100% focused on the deliverable and the scope of those artifacts that you're going to deliver to the customer at the end of the day. So when you focus 100% on those deliverables and on the commodities, the service level, like I'm going to get you, I'm going to build 50 links a month for SEO, and I'm going to create a website with 20 pages that has a blog on WordPress, etc. That's something that what a company can shop around. And all that's going to happen there is the company that has defined what they want, they're going to get the lowest price for that work. And that's a very basic market approach to anything. So if you're trying to get clients on Elance, Freelancer, et cetera, those are great places to get started, but those are competitive marketplaces. The whole purpose of those marketplaces is to connect buyer with seller for the cheapest possible price. And so those are places where clients are looking for commodities, and you see a lot of that low pay, low value stuff. And I say most web professionals because, look, I think, the bell curve, most web pros out there are not getting paid enough. They're struggling to make ends meet, and they fall into that low value, low pay space. Now, there's another low pay space, and I'll talk a little bit about this later more, but these are people that are already doing great work, and they're just bad at business. They don't have any business education. They maybe didn't go to school for business or anything like that. They just, took some courses online at Lynda or Team Treehouse. They started to build websites for their friends and families' businesses or organizations. They got a handful of clients, and one day they just realized, hey, this is what I'm doing for a living, and they have an accidental business underneath them. And that's really kind of what happened to me, 15 years ago, as I was building some websites, making some money, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I have a business. This is actually like a way to make a living. And I had zero business skills, but I did great work. I was a great designer, great developer. I knew how to find talent. I really knew how to deliver great work at the end of the day. And most of the time, my biggest problem was I was too much of a perfectionist. I spent way too much time on every single project. I poured my heart and soul into everything that we were doing. And I was always coming up short when it came time for payroll, or when it came time to pay rent, or when it came time to pay our power bill or our internet bill or our lawyer or whatever. We were behind on every single bill. I had personal credit cards, company debt. It was a mess. But every single day, our clients were telling us how much they loved us, how much great work we did, and the reality is we just didn't know how to run a business, and that was the thing that was really holding us back. A business education these days, if you're going to go to business school, you're going to pay a lot of money for that, and we've been able to build a business education program at UGurus for a fraction of that cost, and we'll maybe talk a little bit about that more. But our other couple of quadrants here in the high pay space, we've got high pay, low value. So I say this is my scammers, my swindlers, my fly-by-nighters. So we've all been in that meeting with a client, and it's the very first meeting. You go in there, you think this client's going to pay you a lot of money, you're going to have a great relationship, and the first thing that they say is, Brent, we already paid somebody $10,000 to build a website, and they didn't deliver us anything. And then, it's the worst start to a meeting ever. And I can't tell you how many of those meetings I had. And immediately you're on the defensive. You're feeling bad for this client. They've spent all of their budget on a website that never materialized. The company doesn't respond to emails. They don't reply to anything. They don't return phone calls, right? And these are the people that I call my fly-by-nighters, right? They're the people that charged their client an arm and a leg, had no idea what they were doing, had no idea what kind of value they should be delivering, and most of the time, they probably just ran off with the check and never looked back. They never delivered anything to the client. They just stopped responding for whatever reason, right? So low value, high pay people, I'm not a big fan of them. I think that exactly what you're talking about, they give an ultra bad name to the web design space, right? You've got the people that, yeah, it kind of sucks that they're undercharging for the work that they're producing, but then there's the people that are overcharging and not delivering, and that to me is the worst, because we've all dealt with that client. And it's so hard to build up the client's confidence again and to build up that trust. It's like you're having to overcome this huge obstacle before you have ever even worked with the client yet. And then the place that I like to operate in is high value, high pay. So this is high impact. This means that you're going into a business organization and you're not talking to them about their website first and foremost. Your goal is to understand the business, understand the organization, the strategies, the tactics. What are they doing? Where do they want to be? And how can you help them to leverage the internet to get them there? And this is a space that you can't get to overnight. You have to learn a new vernacular, a new way to speak to your clients. You have to think about the work that you do very differently. You have to think about your business strategy very differently, how you, the sequence of interactions you have with your clients. But in this space, when you are able to deliver results that have a real impact on the businesses that you're serving, you get respected, you get well paid. These are the places where we find web professionals go from frustrated, scrambling for work to loving the business that they've created and having an amazing relationship with their clients where they can't wait for their client to call them on the phone again. We have, a lot of people that I talk to, they hate when a client calls them. And it's the most odd thing. And James, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, right? Where somebody is like, my client's calling me all the time wanting more and more stuff, and I can't stand it. Like, have you ever heard that from a web designer? Like, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah.
And that's just, it's so crazy. Like, imagine the restaurant that is upset when customers keep coming back through the door.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like they would give you more business, but you're like, go away, Why would I want more business? If you translate it that way. And I think restaurant is a good way, because the only reason you go to a restaurant is to have another meal, to pay the restaurant. And if you turn them away, it just doesn't make sense.
And nobody in their right mind would ever come into a restaurant and expect all of their food for free or all of their drinks for free. And I think you're right in that there is some education there with your clients. There's some guidelines, some boundaries that you have to set with your clients. And again, this gets back to that business education, right? These aren't new concepts, like how you scope out a project, the type of terms that you set with your clients, when they pay you, how support works, how sales works, how your contracts work, how your sales process works. All of these things are solved problems. These are things that, when you're on your own and you're trying to invent your own process, you're going to screw up a whole bunch of times. You're going to basically, high probability you're going to crash and burn, because that's what I did. I tried to make up my entire own process. I tried to invent a way of doing business that worked for me, and I almost went out of business probably 4 different times. And so when I finally kind of put my hand up and said, hey, I need help, and I started reaching out to some mentors, that's when I started to really realize, hey, I can, follow these different types of processes, these best practices. And when I did that, it was like within a year, we went from behind on all of our bills to paid up, competitive salaries, competitive rates, and we ended up getting on one of the top 10 fastest growing companies, not web design firms, top 10 fastest growing companies in Denver for 2 years in a row. So, that wasn't something that, we didn't invent that process. We leveraged business consultants, entrepreneurial training programs, books, all those kind of programs to build up that company. But at the end of the day, we were only interested in the high value work at the high value pay. We didn't want to compete on Elance. We didn't want to compete on Freelancer. We weren't looking at the marketplaces as our key areas to get clients. We really wanted to find clients that wanted to work with us, that had problems that we thought were worth solving, and to create that partnership where, a client wasn't a $500 project. It was a $15,000 or $20,000 project with $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month in recurring revenue. And we've even seen that with some of our program graduates turn into things like $40,000 upfront projects with $5,000 a month recurring retainers. We had a graduate on one of our programs earlier today. She was talking about a $4,000 a month retainer that started with a $38,000 upfront project. 6 months ago, her biggest project was $2,000.
Wow, so this is it. You didn't really teach her much of technical skills. It was all in the business. And I myself, when I follow what you do, what you talk about on Facebook, I've seen, in fact, I guess they are previous 10K bootcamp students. Thank you, send you even emails. You put up some screenshots how they thank you and tell you what kind of 40, 50,000 projects they've just gotten. And perhaps that's something you can dive into a little bit deeper as well, which is the fact that you don't just tell people you need to change your business mindset, go out there and figure out how to do it. You, like you said, have figured out how to create an educational program, which is just a fraction of what you get in all these universities and business schools. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, so where we're a little different than a formal business school is, we're focused 100% on web professionals. So web designers, developers, and web marketers, right? So we're focused on people that are running their own business. They're a freelancer, a small virtual web agency or digital agency, or a bricks and mortar business. So, we've got people that go through our programs from a variety of different sizes, from the one-person shop to the 15 or 20-person shop, and a lot of in-betweens. In terms of how we help them, we're focused first and foremost on just web professionals. So everybody in our program, similar businesses, we know their business in and out, right? Whereas you go to business school and they're going to teach you about, sales or marketing, right? We're going to teach web designers how to get more clients, or web developers or web marketers or agencies how to get more clients. Like if you're a photographer and you come to our programs, like, we're a bad fit. So that's the first big thing that we're different than other formal business education, is that we're 100% focused on this market. I'm a person that went through running a small, for 1 or 2 person shop all the way up to a 14-person shop over a 12-year period of time. Right? So I have that experience. Our mentors are active business owners out there in the world building web professional businesses day in, day out, and they're the ones that are helping me lead our program. So these are real people that are in this industry that are helping out as well. So everybody in the program is a web professional, so that's a big difference. Another thing is that we work best when we're working with you while you're working on and in your business. So boot camp is not a 10-week vacation from your business, right? We work best when you're out there trying to win business week in, week out during our 10-week program, and we get to work hands-on with you through mentorship, weekly video conferencing with your group, our community portal, right? When you can come to program and say, hey, somebody just reached out to me for this, how should I respond? Or I was on a call with a client and I got an uneasy feeling when they said this, how would I respond, right? We work best when we can actually work with people in their business. So by doing that, by being focused 100% on web professionals and by working with you while you're running your business, we've found that we can quickly accelerate you and your business, right, depending on where you're at. One note on my value versus pay matrix is the folks that are hanging out in the low pay, high value space. So these are what I call, my sleeping giants, the people that are doing great work, but they're not getting paid enough. And we see these people graduate our program every season, and these are the ones that, it appears like they're an overnight success because they come into program and in week 2 or week 3, they start knocking it out of the park. And the big reason there is just that they were, they're already doing the right things. They're delivering the right value. They're just not speaking the right language with their client. And when they just change a few things about their vernacular and their approach, they'll go from selling, one of the mentors we had earlier on one of our other live streams, her average project was $800 before she came into boot camp. Now her average project is $6,000. She got a return on boot camp in the first, maybe a 2 or 3x return on her boot camp investment, the cost to join our program, in the first 3 weeks of program. So, those types of people that go from, making a few $1,000s a month to 5-figure incomes, monthly incomes, going from $2,000 or $3,000 a month of income to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month of income. Those are usually the people that I call my sleeping giants, and they're already doing that great work. Now, people that are in the commodity space, that are artifact focused, they maybe have some things that they need to improve on their service offering. Those ones, we definitely need the full 10 weeks. Like, we need to help them, do a lot more work with them to get them on that trajectory. Some of the folks come in, they're selling $1,000 projects. By the end of program, they sell a $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 project, and then a month or 2 after program, we see them, land $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 projects. One of our mentors, Jennifer Buzza, she went through program, didn't land a $10,000 project, but then a month after program, she landed a $24,000 project. So it takes there's no secret science to how long it takes. We just know that by investing 10 weeks into your business education, it's long enough that we can get that mindset change and get you up into that high value, high pay box, so that you can start to have that really strong impact on your clients, as well as taking home a much bigger paycheck from your business.
No, this is it, man. This is the core, the whole core of this conversation, which I wanted to get out of you, and I actually managed to get out more than I expected because it's well, if I look at the graphic, it's just a simple graphic, but you went deeper into each one of the squares and how to identify yourself and the clients and the importance of business education. So I think for this episode, I think there's a lot to think about for our listeners. Maybe you can share, before I let you go, share a link or two where they can find more about you, this 10K bootcamp, links that we can include in our podcast show notes.
For sure, and I appreciate the opportunity, James. You can check us out, ugurus.com, so ugurus.com/apply if you're interested in bootcamp. So 10K Bootcamp is the only online training program that teaches and challenges web professionals to sell their first $10,000 project. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in high value projects for high value pay, definitely check us out, ugurus.com/apply. Or you can just go to ugurus.com and just you'll find bootcamp information all over there. But if you are interested in joining the program, then definitely fill out an application, and we'll review that and get back to you. And there's a little bit of an interview process. You have to set up a call with one of our strategists, make sure that you're going to be successful in the program. That's a big deal for us. We don't want people that are in the program that aren't going to succeed. So we have a small application process that you have to go through in order to get in. But if you are interested in bootcamp, then I definitely encourage you to submit an application or to reach out to us just using our contact link.
Lovely, thanks a lot, and I really hope that there'll be a lot of sleeping giants and, well, people from every one of the squares, maybe not as much from the left top square, coming to the bootcamp and listening to this podcast. Apart from that, I have to say thank you for being able to make it here today and share your wisdom. And of course, I will invite you sooner or later again to discuss yet another topic. Thanks, Brent.
Absolutely, James. Always a pleasure, and best of luck to you guys over at the First Web Designer team. Always here to support you guys in any way we possibly can.